movie, and now we're really looking for a discussion. I'd like to invite our two guests to the stage. First, Surangika Jayaratne, who is going to do the moderation. She's a PhD student in social and cultural geography. Thanks for being here. And next, I'd like to invite Teresa Tribaldo, a researcher in gender and international relations from University of Bern, also to the stage. Thanks for being here too. And Vandana Shiva will be connected, maybe. There's a little problem with the connection, but they're going to start the discussion anyway. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy this engaging and thought-provoking movie as much as I did. This was the second time I watched this movie, but still it gives me some goosebumps and all the time hit me the core of my heart to think about the power of a small farming and the small farmers and how we kind of encourage them and how do we also supposed to do a lot of potential activism with them to encourage the regeneration of agriculture and economy. So we have, while we are trying to connect the Vandana Shiva online, we have another expert, Teresa from Bern University, also doing research about the food justice and sustainable agriculture. So please feel free to ask any question if you have, or not necessarily questions, any thought if you have to share with the audience, just raise your hand, take a moment to share your thoughts with us. And before starting, Vandana also connecting with us, so you can ask any question or any comments, you can share with Vandana and Teresa. Yeah. Floor is yours. Yeah. Hello,
hello everyone.
Hello, we are so glad that you finally managed to connect with us, and we really appreciate your time and efforts. So we really enjoy your movie also just a moment ago, and now the Q&A is open, and I hope there's a lot of questions for you, and there is.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is to Dr. Vandana Shiva. Very nice to see you here. As a student of gender studies, I've been reading you a lot since my bachelor. It's an honor to have you here, at least online. I enjoyed the movie a lot, and I'm also following what you are writing and your activism, what is your activism about. And I really can say that I can relate it with my research in Bangladesh, the neighboring country of India, where I work with agriculture and the women contribution in agriculture. But I will have a different question to you, that these seeds are protecting nature, and the responsibility of women that you always narrated through your activism and your research and your work, which is very appreciating. But in many cases, I think it's very much connected to the right of land or access to natural resources, which is very much connected to the rights of land. And these rights of land are linked to different legal procedures, especially the inheritance right and right to inheritance of women in many countries, including Bangladesh and many other neighboring countries. I guess Pakistan, Afghanistan are still not ensured. It's not equal. What is your reflection on that? Because it's so much connected with agriculture, the movement you are doing with seeds and food security, because it's so important to have the right to land to cultivate and to have their access to natural resources. And what is your reflection on this unequal inheritance right that is still valid for many countries in the world, especially in Global South? Thanks a lot.
A few years ago, I was put on a committee of the National Commission of Women, and we drafted a policy on women and agriculture. And the key part of that policy was the rights to the resources that make agriculture possible. The seed, the water, the land, and access to public systems. So, of course, I am fully committed to equality in distribution of land, and the entire inequality in land, including the patriarchal ownership pattern that has been created, came with colonialism. Before colonialism, land was a commons. It was the right to land was through the work you did to take care of the land. And men and women both worked, so both had equal rights, and these were usurpatory rights. But private property rights were created through colonialism. Lord Cornwallis, with the stroke of a pen, said the land of, at that time, Bangladesh was part of India, that all of the soil and land of India belongs to England, and for every bit of farming, the peasants who were the original common custodians were now the landless peasants who had to pay a rent, which is called lagan. And this extracted from our subcontinent $45 trillion in just 2 centuries of British rule. And this is how, when later, for the first, everyone was made landless, and later the very colonizing idea of men as property rights owners was of course introduced, and that's why women were left out. Now, I definitely support equal rights, but I support even deeper equal rights to reclaim land as a commons, because what I do to my land impacts my next door neighbor. Your country and my country is facing terrible devastation on the coast by shrimp farming. Now, I could do shrimp farming, industrial shrimp farming on my land, but it will salinate my neighbor's land. And that is why land, water, sea must be reclaimed as a commons.
I can vote, I can decide what I buy. I try to document myself about what regenerative agriculture is, but I just feel that I'm not doing enough, and I'm just raising a very kind of naive question, which is, what else can I do?
I think, was it to me or someone else?
To you.
I think the most important thing each of us can do is recognize that everything is connected. The soil is connected to the plants, is connected to our gut, is connected to our health. And that the health of the planet and our health is deeply interconnected because we are made of the same elements, the same processes. And yes, we need to restore agriculture as care for the land. And through that, we need to restore food as a source of health. Food has become the single biggest reason for the ecological catastrophe. 50% of the greenhouse gases come from the industrial food system, including methods of production, invading into Amazon, for soybean, for cattle feed and biofuel, for ultra-processing, long-distance food miles and supply chains, huge packaging. It's 14% plus 20% plus 20% and 4% for waste. We can change that totally through ecological, biodiverse, local food economies. And we can do more because through organic, we can put more carbon back into the soil because that's what plants do. Plants pull out carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and through the plants put it in the soil. 1/3 of the emissions are being absorbed by the mycorrhizal fungi in the soil if we increase organic farming. And we can reach the 1.5 degree limit if we take care of the soil. That's why I wrote my book Soil Not Oil in 2009 in the lead up to Copenhagen. But the disappearance of biodiversity also comes from a monoculture-based Green Revolution industrial farming system. And the same system is leading to destruction of soil and water. 75% destruction of health. So I would say let's reclaim food as the very currency of life and transform the growing of food into the highest ecological act. It is not merely a production of a commodity. It is much deeper. It is managing the climate. It is managing the water and regenerating the water. It's regenerating biodiversity. And I hope some of you will make time to come and visit us at Navdanya, where we do this work. We do the practice, and we have trained 2 million farmers over these many years, but we do the science of how healthier soils are connected to healthier plants, and more biodiversity is connected to more food per acre and more nutrition and health per acre. So next year, September 15th to October 15th, we do the 1 month course on return to the earth. So when you say, what more can I do? Just increase your own awareness of interconnectedness, of nature as a powerful creative force, and of our work as re-establishing a gentle relationship with the earth and recognizing that every part of her is throbbing with life, from the tiniest of fungi in the soil to the tiniest of bees and butterflies which pollinate our food and give us 1/3 the food. So protecting the earth is the most efficient food system.
She has done and reached in her life, and also this very positive energy that really drives her work. I would like to add something to this question, because I can really relate to your feelings, like what can I do as an individual? And I think there is a very tricky part in that we are told by companies, by the government, we are told that if we are just good individuals and we try to be good consumers, then we do the right thing and then we will change everything. And here I think there are so many structural problems in food systems and how we came to the stage where we are now. And I think it's not enough to say you as a consumer can change everything. And of course, I don't say that you don't have some kind of power as a consumer, but you will always be like on your own, and if not everyone does the same, you will not really immediately see the results of what you do. So I think it's really important to tackle this problem at very different levels, not just looking from the individual perspective, but really demanding, and here we have a democracy, we have the opportunity to vote for certain things and really get into the discussion, not just with yourself, but get into the discussion with other people and really try to look for a collective aim and a collective goal, and really think about what is a collective or a societal goal where we want to go. And sometimes it feels like we are lacking a bit this societal goal. We just think from a very individual perspective, and I think we need to broaden our ideas again and look what is good for our society and not just what is good for myself as an individual.
Votes where Swiss citizens voted that we don't want to have GMO in our human food supply chain. And now on the political level in Switzerland and also in the European Union, there is this drive, this new wave of the GMO industry to introduce these CRISPR-Cas methods in German Genschere. And I wonder, what's your position to that? How shall we deal with that on a scientific, on a political and societal and also agricultural level? And I'm asking to Dr. Vandana Shiva, but we can also discuss as a community.
Thank you for a very important question. You know, I actually was introduced to a future based on GMO at a meeting in Geneva and Bougie in 1987, where the industry said now we must use the tools of genetic engineering in order to take patents on life, and that's going to be the source of our future profits. And the WTO rules that were finally written, the GATT at that time, that it would be the platform for creating these monopolies and making it illegal for farmers to save seeds. They said it very clearly that we will be 4 companies to 5 companies controlling all of seed, food, and health by the turn of the century, by the year 2000. That's why I started Navdanya. When I thought, I said, what is going to happen to the world if 5 producers of toxics control the seed as a monopoly and make it illegal for us to have diversity? I'd worked enough in diversity till that time to understand that diverse systems produce more and are more ecologically stable. So I took a commitment to save seeds. From that day onwards, that's what I've been saving seeds. But also looking at the impact of the genetic manipulation on biodiversity, on public health. My focus is more on biodiversity. And I was invited by the United Nations to help frame the biosafety protocol, which flew out of Article 19.3 of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Now, Article 19.3 talks about living modified organisms. Anything that is modified at the genetic level will have to be assessed for risk. And according to that, either approvals will be given or not given, because the first obligation is protecting biodiversity and public health. And later in biosafety, socioeconomic conditions were also introduced because the impact on Indian farmers on the BT cotton has been very high on the socioeconomic level. Because the biosafety regulation, to which Europe is a signatory, have required risk assessment, none of the 2 applications of Roundup Ready and BT toxin have not passed most of the countries. I think a little bit of Spain has GMO corn. Most European countries don't. So the CRISPR-Cas9, the so-called gene editing, very recent introduction and a rushed deregulation. The European proposal is to deregulate GMOs. Now that's illegal. Quite simply, it's illegal and it's unscientific. Because if you are claiming that you have transformed the genetic structure, and a living organism is a complex system, it's not a word program of cut and paste. Every part of the genome is related to every other part. And as the research is now showing, changing one gene's location can transform the locations and functions of 1,500 other genes. They did the experiment with the horns, to remove the horns of the livestock in California. And they said gene editing means nothing new is being done, but it's like within the system itself. It's not true. Even with CRISPR-Cas9, you have to introduce it through the old technologies of the vectors, in this case agrobacterium. And that then brings the bacterial infections that were found in these bulls, and that whole experiment had to be destroyed. So A, it is genetically modified, therefore must be regulated, and deregulation is unscientific and undemocratic. Second, it is not true that foreign genes aren't found in gene-edited organisms. They are found repeatedly. And the third is, citizens have a right to know how the food they're eating was produced, beginning from the seed. And they have a right to know whether it's genetically modified or not genetically modified. That's why we have labeling laws. Now, once you deregulate GMOs, the new generation of GMOs, you also take away from citizens their right to know. Labeling will be removed. And there's a very split thinking involved. And this was also the case in the first generation GMOs, they were saying, oh, it's totally natural, there's no issue of safety. But when it came to taking patents, they said totally invented, it's something new. So you can't have the same thing as novel on the one hand and natural on the other. When it comes to patents, even with the CRISPR-Cas9, they are claiming patents, 100 patents in the hands of the same 4 giants that control the seed and the agrochemical industry. Already 100. And they are seeking a patent on everything. So the 3 things are violating citizen rights and ecological rights and the obligation to protect biodiversity. The deregulation and not doing risk assessment, the destroying of the right to labeling and knowing, and third, continuing the patent monopoly.